My name is Detective Ethan Marlowe, and I need to confess something that has been eating away at my sanity for the past 72 hours. 3 nights ago, I signed a death report, a simple administrative task. Vincent Calloway, 61 years old, founder and CEO of Calloway Luxe, the most prestigious chain of high-end jewelry stores specializing in gold and rare gemstones across North America, died of cardiac arrest in his sleep. Natural causes. The medical examiner was certain. The family physician confirmed it. There were no signs of struggle, no toxicology red flags, no reason to suspect foul play. I reviewed the scene myself at the mansion, a sterile formality more than anything else. The man was a billionaire worth $18 billion. People like that get extra attention, even in death. I should have walked away, filed the paperwork, moved on to the next case. But then, at 2:47 in the morning, my phone buzzed on my nightstand. Half asleep, I reached for it, expecting a work emergency or a wrong number. Instead, what I saw made my blood run cold. It was a notification from the Calloway Estate's smart home system, an app I had downloaded 3 days earlier during my initial visit to the mansion, just to access the security footage. The notification read, "New voice command recorded. Priority alert for Detective Ethan Marlowe." I sat up in bed, my heart pounding. The timestamp on the recording was 4 minutes old. I tapped the notification with a trembling finger, and the audio file began to play. Static first, then breathing, labored, desperate breathing, and then a voice, Vincent Calloway's voice. "Ethan Marlowe, if you're hearing this, I need help. They're still here. Check the study. Check the gold. Don't trust." The recording cut off abruptly, replaced by silence so absolute it felt like the air had been sucked out of my bedroom. I stared at my phone screen, my mind racing through impossible scenarios. Vincent Calloway had been dead for 36 hours. His body was in the city morgue. I had seen it myself. I had signed the report. This couldn't be real. It had to be a glitch, some pre-recorded message triggered by a malfunctioning system. But the timestamp didn't lie. The recording was made at 2:43 a.m., 4 minutes ago. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. By dawn, I was back at the Calloway estate, a sprawling architectural masterpiece of glass, steel, and cutting-edge technology, nestled in the hills overlooking the city. The mansion was a monument to wealth and control, every surface gleaming, every room monitored by sensors and cameras. Vincent Calloway had been obsessed with automation. He controlled everything, lighting, temperature, security, even the window blinds, through voice commands. The house was an extension of his will, obedient and precise. The gate opened automatically as I approached, my credentials still active in the system. I parked in the circular driveway, the morning sun reflecting off the mirrored facade of the house. The front door unlocked before I could knock, another automated response. Inside, the air was cool and sterile, carrying the faint scent of expensive leather and something else, something metallic, like old coins. "Detective Marlowe." The voice came from behind me, smooth and cold. I turned to see Isabel Calloway descending the floating staircase, her heels clicking against the marble steps. She was dressed in black, elegant and composed, her blonde hair pulled back into a tight bun. Her eyes were pale blue, almost colorless, and they studied me with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. "I wasn't expecting you this morning. Is there a problem with the death certificate?" I hesitated, unsure how to explain what had brought me back. "Mrs. Calloway, I received a notification last night from your home system, a voice recording. It was time-stamped after your husband's death." Her expression didn't change. No surprise, no confusion. Just that same cold, measured stare. "The system has been malfunctioning since Vincent died," she said, her tone dismissive. "Old recordings triggering randomly. The tech company has been notified. I'm sure it's nothing." "This recording mentioned my name," I said, watching her carefully. "It asked me to check the study, to check the gold. For the briefest moment, something flickered in her eyes. Fear? Anger? It was gone before I could identify it. Vincent was paranoid about his collections, she said, moving past me toward the kitchen. He had vaults full of gold bars, rare coins, custom jewelry pieces worth millions. He was always worried about theft, even from his own family. Whatever you heard, Detective, it was likely recorded weeks ago. A remnant of his obsessive security protocols. I didn't believe her. There was something in her voice, a slight tremor beneath the ice, that told me she was lying. I'd like to see the study, I said, and I'd like access to the full system logs from the night of his death. She turned to face me, her smile thin and sharp. Of course, whatever you need to put your mind at ease. But I assure you, Detective, my husband died of natural causes. The doctors were very clear. She led me through the house, past rooms filled with abstract art and furniture that probably cost more than my annual salary. We stopped at a heavy oak door at the end of the east wing. Isabel pressed her palm against a biometric scanner, and the door clicked open, revealing Vincent Calloway's private study. The room was dimly lit, the curtains drawn. Bookshelves lined the walls, filled with leather-bound volumes and display cases showcasing gold artifacts, coins from ancient civilizations, intricate necklaces, bars stamped with the Callaway Lux logo. And there, in the center of the room, was Vincent's desk, a massive piece of carved mahogany, its surface covered with papers, a laptop, and a single gold fountain pen. I approached slowly, scanning the room for anything unusual. The air here felt heavier, charged with a tension I couldn't explain. Was this room accessed after his death? I asked. No, Isabel said from the doorway. Vincent was the only one with clearance. The door hasn't been opened since we found him. I moved behind the desk, examining the papers, financial reports, contracts, emails printed out, nothing immediately suspicious. But then I noticed something odd. The laptop was open, its screen dark but not off. I tapped the touchpad and the screen flickered to life, prompting for a password. But in the corner, a small notification icon blinked. I clicked it, and a chat window opened. A conversation between Vincent and someone listed only as DC. The last message, sent at 11:53 p.m. on the night of Vincent's death, read, "I know what you did. We need to talk. Tonight." Vincent's response, time-stamped 3 minutes later. "Come to the study, alone." My pulse quickened. "Mrs. Calloway, who is DC?" Isabel's face went pale. I don't know. Vincent had many business associates. It could be anyone. Before I could press further, the house's intercom system crackled to life and a voice filled the room. Vincent Calloway's voice. "Isabel, bring him to the vault. Show him the gold. Show him everything." Isabel gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. I spun around, searching for the source of the voice. But the speakers were embedded in the walls, invisible. "How is that possible?" I demanded. "How is his voice still in the system?" "I don't know." Isabel's composure shattered, her voice rising in panic. "I don't know. The technicians said they cleared everything. This shouldn't be happening." The intercom crackled again, and this time the voice was different, distorted, layered with static. "Detective Marlowe, the truth is in the gold, always in the gold." And then, silence. I turned back to Isabel, who was trembling now, her arms wrapped around herself. "Mrs. Calloway, I need you to take me to the vault. Now." She nodded, unable to speak, and led me down a narrow hallway to a concealed elevator. We descended 2 floors into the basement, where the temperature dropped noticeably. The elevator doors opened to reveal a climate-controlled vault, its walls lined with safety deposit boxes and glass cases. In the center of the room stood a massive safe, its door slightly ajar. "That's impossible," Isabel whispered. "That safe requires Vincent's fingerprint and a 16-digit code. No one else knows the combination." I approached the safe, my hand instinctively moving to my holster. I pulled the door open fully, and my breath caught in my throat. Inside were rows of gold bars, neatly stacked. But on the floor of the safe, partially hidden beneath the lowest row, was something that didn't belong. A leather-bound journal. I picked it up carefully, flipping through the pages. Vincent's handwriting covered every page, frantic and jagged. The entries dated back months, paranoid ramblings about betrayal, about someone close to him planning to take everything. And then, on the final page, dated the day before his death. Damien came to see me tonight. He knows about the gold I've been hiding, the reserves I kept off the books. He threatened to expose everything unless I sign over controlling interest in the company. I refused. He said I'd regret it. I think my son wants me dead. I looked up at Isabel, who was reading over my shoulder, her face ashen. "Where is Damien?" I asked. He arrived yesterday," she said, her voice barely audible. "The day after Vincent died. He said he came to pay his respects." But he and Vincent hadn't spoken in 5 years, not since Damien left the business to pursue his motorcycles and that reckless lifestyle. "I need to speak with him, immediately." We found Damien Calloway in the garage, a sprawling space filled with vintage motorcycles and custom bikes worth a fortune. He was bent over one of them, his hands covered in grease, his dark hair falling into his eyes. He looked up as we entered, his expression unreadable. He was younger than I expected, maybe 35, with his father's sharp features but none of his coldness. There was something raw about him, something unpolished. "Detective," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "Mom said you'd be coming around again. Something about ghost messages from dear old Dad." "Your father wrote that you threatened him," I said, cutting straight to it. "The night before he died." Damien's jaw tightened. He wrote a lot of things. Most of them paranoid bullshit. Yeah, I came to see him. Yeah, we argued, but I didn't threaten him. I asked him for what was rightfully mine, my share of the company. He built that empire on my grandfather's legacy, and he cut me out the moment I refused to play his golden boy. "What time did you leave?" I asked. "Midnight, maybe a little after. I left him alive, detective. Angry, but alive." "And where did you go?" "Back to my hotel, the Meridian downtown. You can check the security footage. I didn't come back here until after he was dead." I studied him, looking for tells, for signs of deception. But all I saw was frustration and grief, tangled together in a way that felt genuine. "Your father's smart home system recorded a voice command hours after his death," I said. "A command that mentioned you. That mentioned the gold." Damien's expression shifted, confusion replacing defiance. "That's not possible unless someone else accessed the system, someone who knew how to manipulate it." "Who would have that knowledge?" I asked. Damien glanced at his mother, then back at me. "Vincent had a tech consultant, a guy named Theo Vance. He designed the entire automation system, integrated everything. If anyone could fake a voice command or manipulate the logs, it would be him." I felt a surge of adrenaline. "Where can I find him?" "He has an office in the city," Isabel said, her voice steadier now. "But he's also been coming here regularly. Vincent trusted him completely. He had full access to every system in the house." An hour later, I was sitting across from Theo Vance in his minimalist downtown office. He was in his early 40s, thin and wiry, with nervous energy that made him constantly adjust his glasses. When I explained why I was there, his face went pale. "I would never tamper with the system," he said, his voice defensive. "Vincent was my biggest client. My reputation depends on integrity. If there are glitches, it's because the system is trying to process the biometric void left by his death. The house was programmed to respond to his voice, his presence. Without him, it's confused." "Can a system be confused?" I asked, skepticism heavy in my tone. "In a manner of speaking, yes. The AI learning algorithms can produce unexpected outputs when core parameters are removed. But I swear to you, detective, I didn't program anything to send messages after his death. That would be insane." "Then explain how a voice recording with Vincent Calloway's voice saying my name was generated at 2:43 a.m., 36 hours after his death." Theo's hand shook as he pulled up his laptop, accessing the Calloway system remotely. He typed rapidly, pulling up logs and audio files. His eyes widened. This doesn't make sense. The recording you received wasn't generated by the AI. It was spliced together from dozens of different voice commands Vincent gave over the past year. Someone manually edited it, using his voice samples, and programmed it to send to your device at a specific time. Who has the access to do that? I demanded. Only 3 people, Theo said, his voice barely a whisper. Vincent himself, which is obviously impossible now, me, and Isabel Calloway. She has administrator privileges because Vincent wanted her to be able to control the house if something happened to him. The pieces started falling into place, a horrifying mosaic of deception and greed. I drove back to the Calloway estate, my mind racing. When I arrived, Isabel was waiting in the foyer, her expression calm once again, as if she'd had time to compose herself. "Mrs. Calloway," I said, my voice hard, "I need you to explain why you have the technical knowledge to splice voice recordings and manipulate your husband's smart home system." Her smile was thin, almost pitying. "You're very thorough, detective. I appreciate that, but you're chasing ghosts. Vincent died of a heart attack. The medical examiner confirmed it. Whatever messages you think you received, they're just echoes, digital artifacts. Theo Vance told me that only 3 people could have created that recording, and you're one of them." Isabel's eyes darkened. "Theo is a nervous little man who would say anything to deflect blame. Yes, I have access to the system. Vincent insisted on it, but I wouldn't know the first thing about editing audio files. Then you won't mind if I bring in a forensic tech team to examine every log, every file, every command in this house." For a moment, her mask slipped. I saw the calculation in her eyes, the weighing of options, and then she sighed, a sound of resignation. "You want the truth, detective? Fine. Yes, I created that recording. I sent it to you, but not because I killed Vincent. Because I needed you to keep investigating. Because I knew if you walked away, the real killer would get away with it." I stared at her, stunned. "Explain." "Vincent didn't die of natural causes," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "He was poisoned, slowly, over weeks. Something untraceable in his food, his drinks. I suspected, but I had no proof. And the one person who had the means, the motive and the access." She paused, her eyes filling with tears. "It was Damien, my son. He came back not to reconcile, but to finish what he started. He wanted the company, the gold, everything, and he was willing to kill his own father to get it." "That's a lie." The voice came from behind me. I turned to see Damien standing in the doorway, his face twisted with rage. "She's lying. Detective. She's the one who wanted him dead. She's been planning this for years, waiting for the right moment. And when Dad refused to give her more control over the finances, she decided to take it all." "Damien, stop," Isabel started, but he cut her off. "She has a lover, detective, some traitor from her country club. She wanted to leave Vincent, but she knew she'd lose everything in a divorce, so she decided to become a widow instead. And she's trying to frame me for it." The room erupted into accusations and denials, both of them screaming over each other. I raised my hand, silencing them. "Enough. Both of you need to stop talking right now." I pulled out my phone, calling for backup and a forensic team. Whatever the truth was, it was buried in this house, in its systems and its secrets, and I was going to find it. Over the next 48 hours, we tore through every digital record, every financial transaction, every piece of evidence. The forensic team confirmed that Vincent had indeed been poisoned. Small doses of a rare compound derived from plant toxins, administered over the course of 6 weeks. It was nearly undetectable, designed to mimic the symptoms of heart disease. But the evidence pointed in a direction none of us expected. The compound had been purchased online, shipped to an address 3 blocks from the Calloway estate, an address registered to Theo Vance. When we arrested him, Theo broke down almost immediately. He confessed to everything. Vincent had discovered that Theo had been embezzling money from the company, siphoning off small amounts over years, hidden in the complexity of the smart home system's maintenance contracts. When Vincent confronted him, Theo panicked. He couldn't afford to lose his reputation, his business. So he poisoned Vincent slowly, making it look like natural causes. And when I started asking questions, he manipulated the system to create confusion, to point suspicion at the family. The voice recording I received? Theo had created it, hoping I would investigate the family and overlook him. He underestimated how deep I would dig. Vincent Calloway's empire of gold and jewels stood as a glittering monument to success, but beneath its surface it was built on paranoia, greed, and betrayal. Theo Vance is now awaiting trial for murder. Isabel and Damien are left to rebuild their fractured relationship and manage an empire neither of them truly wanted. And me? I still hear Vincent's voice sometimes late at night, echoing through my phone. A reminder that in houses built on wealth and technology, the walls have ears. And sometimes they speak. So I ask you, when power and paranoia intersect, when technology knows too much and people trust too little, where does the truth actually hide? Is it in the evidence, cold and digital? Or is it in the hearts of those left behind, shattered and guilty? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to this channel and leave your like for more stories of crimes, secrets of powerful families, and investigations that no one dares to tell until the next case.